Right, thanks everyone. We're going to get started now. What we're doing, we work with We Cook, and we're here this weekend to kind of work with McIntosh. So they do the macaroni cheese and a few of the other products. They've got a little stall over on the front, so you'll have seen that. Now, macaroni cheese is a good family favourite. Now, what we're going to do is take this family favourite and show you something else that you can do with it, because quite a big portion here. You do get smaller ones, but you can make this go a little bit further. And one thing we're really keen on in the kitchen where we work is minimising waste. So if there is any leftovers with macaroni cheese, this recipe that I'm going to show you now is a really good way of using things that are left over. So we're going to do a quesadilla. Now, if you don't know what a quesadilla is, you've all seen tortillas, tortilla wraps. You might have bought the little packets, you might have seen it in the shops. And those of you who have been to Mexico, you'll have seen this. It's very popular street food over there. Now, it is a speciality in kind of central and southern parts of Mexico. So what I'm going to do is show you one now, two ways, and this is something that you can replicate at home. We're going to be using a griddle pan today. If you haven't got a griddle pan, don't worry, you can do it in a dry frying pan. There's no oil needed, and what we're going to do to go with it is a nice little simple salsa, okay? So what we're going to do, first of all, is start off with our salsa. So a couple of things for the salsa, and you can make this any way you want. We're going to do a simple one, and we'll also do a spicy one. We're going to start with some red onion. Now, Lewis, my apprentice chef here, he's going to be doing over the chopping once I've kind of showed him where we're starting with. So we just top and tail the onion. Now, you don't need to be too chefy with this. What I would say, though, is when you're chopping things for a salsa, in fact, for anything, chop all your pieces the same size, okay? That way things will cook evenly, or when you're getting a spoonful or a mouthful of something, you're not getting big bits of onion and then small little bits. So it gives you a nice kind of balance of flavours in your mouth. So we top and tail the onion, peel off the outside bit, there we go. And then Lewis is going to do the other one. There we are. So you can dice it, that's probably the best thing to do. There we go, nice little dice. Now, I'm using my big chef's knife. If you haven't got a big chef's knife, don't worry, okay, because these things are super sharp. If you have got a knife that's sharp, that's the best tool for the job. But a lot of you won't have things like chef's knives in your kitchen drawers. You're more likely to have possibly something like this. This is one of my favourite knives. This is my housewife's knife, okay? This is one I will be using once Lewis takes over the chopping. Now, the serrated knives are great for vegetables and also for your salads. But what I'm going to do is just chop this half of the onion, pop it into a bowl, and then Lewis, you're going to take over with that one. There you go. So the other ingredients we're going to need for our salsa, we're going to use tomatoes. Now, you can put garlic into it as well, but we're going to keep it nice and light. So no garlic today. We'll all be getting kisses later then. So we're going to take the tomato, and we're going to cut it in half, and then in half again. So once it's into little quarters, what I'm going to do using the serrated knife is just take out the seeds. So hold it firm on your chopping board, take that out. The seeds are quite sloppy, so you don't really want that in your salsa. Now, the salsa that we're going to make, this will last in your fridge for about 5 days. So we want to try and get lots of flavour out of it. So I'm just going to chop that there. I'll do the same with this, and then Lewis will do the other tomatoes. How are you getting on with those onions? And my knife. So Lewis, ladies and gentlemen, he's my apprentice. So he's 16, he's straight out of school. So he's learning the trade. He got his new knives a few weeks back. Had him chopping. I sat down for my lunch, and he's like that. Oh, I've chopped something. First thing he chopped, his finger. But he survived to tell the tale, and he's learned very quickly not to do that again. So I'm just going to chop through here with the tomatoes now. So cut them into nice little strips. Now, you can make it a bit thinner. If you make it too thin, though, it'll go quite sloppy and pulpy. So you want some nice chunky bits. What I'm doing is trying to get them the same size as the bits of red onion that I chopped. There we are, so I'll shove that in here. I'll do the same there. Obviously, you guys can take your time a little bit more. I'm doing it really quickly because I want to try and feed you a little nibble and tasty sample of something as quickly as I can. There we go, same with that one. Now, macaroni cheese is a good family favourite dish, okay? Now, one thing I like about this recipe in particular, if you're on a bit of a budget maybe, or you want to kind of make the food go a little bit further, by doing what we're doing, by adding a bit more carbohydrate to it, you can obviously feed a family, you can use it as party food. We actually use macaroni cheese. It's one of our most popular canopies that we do at things like weddings and functions. We take the macaroni and we actually put it into little bits of pancetta ham, the Parma ham, put it in a muffin tin, put the mac and cheese in, bung it in the oven, and it's lovely little nibbles, really lovely and tasty. Now, the one that we're doing today, we're going to add some spring onions to the mac and cheese, okay, just to give it a little kind of zinginess about it. You can actually add things like bacon and ham. We've even done arbro smoky when we've done some fish festivals over on the East Coast. That's really nice in the mac and cheese. McIntosh actually do a mac and cheese with the bacon, don't you? Which is Simon Howie's bacon, which is a really good bacon. But before I do that, I'm going to add a few of these spring onions into my salsa. So like I say, you can add garlic if you want. Now, this salsa, if you don't use it all with your quesadillas, toast a bit of bread, you can make yourself a nice bruschetta. It's exactly the same kind of recipe that we're going to be using. Now, spring onions, you might call them cybes, scallions, green onions, wherever you're from. I'm from Wales. Spring onions, we call them. My granddad used to grow them. These are one of my favourite salads. And all we do is take the outside layer off if it's a bit fluffy, cut the actual rooty bit off, which is the hairy bit at the top, cut it into strips, and then again, we want nice pieces of spring onion. They're going to be the same size as the tomato and the red onion there. How are you getting on over there, Lewis? All right? He's getting torn into it. Now again, you can slice the spring onion into nice little slices, however chefy you want to be. We want this quite a rustic dish, because in Mexico, a lot of the street food is stuff that they'll prepare at home or they'll have out on the street and you can buy that. Now, this day and age, there's so much kind of choice when it comes to things like Mexican or more ethnic foods, or, you know, think about some of the world foods that are available to us now in the supermarket. We wouldn't have got those like 10 years ago. And the Mexican food seems to have got really, really popular. You'll see all the little street food vans everywhere and that kind of thing. So we're doing our take on a kind of Mexican street food with a Scottish twist. So there we go, that's the end of the spring. Is that you getting tapped by the wasps again? Ah, time to toughen up. There we go, so there's the last spring onion going into the salsa. And then the rest of the spring onions, I'm going to pop them into the mac and cheese. Now this recipe is so quick and easy. Now if you don't want to do the quesadilla, which is what we're doing today, you can actually take one of these tortilla wraps, put it onto a baking tray, put your mac and cheese on top, and pop that in the oven. And it'll be almost like a pizza, and then you can put your salsa on afterwards as well. You can even roll it up like calzone, yeah? Do it like a burrito. But we're going to show you the most simple way with very minimal cooking. Because at the end of the day, if you're buying something like this, you're buying it because you can't be bothered to cook possibly, yeah? It's a nice, quick, fast food. So we're not even going to heat this up. This will be heated in the pan, so it's super, super fast. So there we go. That's the spring onion for that. And then this last spring onion, I'm going to pop this into the mac and cheese. There we go. I'm going to give you this bowl over here, this. There you go. And there's a little tub for all your scraps. There we go. So we try to keep things nice and clean as we go, so we don't have to go and clean. And I'm just chopping this last little bit here. There we go. So again, nice small bits. So like I say, if you don't want to use spring onion, you can pop whatever you like into it. You can put little bits of chili in as well if you really want to spice it up. But we're going to do the actual kind of chili will be in the actual salsa itself. So let's crack open the macaroni. And if you've not tasted this, it's really, really good. And there's like, you're giving samples out, aren't you guys, down by the shore? But what we'll do today, we'll make some of these and we'll cut them up and you can have a little sample yourself, okay? See what you think. So in goes the spring onions. Yeah, you've got the salsa, how's that coming on? Lovely. So I'm just going to squash some of these onions into there. There we go. And then we're going to get the tortilla. There we go. So just place it on a plate like that. Pop a little bit of the macaroni cheese on top. You don't want it too thick, because like I say, it's going to heat in the pan. There we are. Lovely. And you know it's ready, you can smell it. And you see the cheese starting to ooze out of it. There we go. So that's the first one. So this is the classic quesadilla. So we put a lid on it and pop that straight into your pan. So think like a panini if you're using a griddle pan. Have those lovely stripes on it. The other one we're going to do is the half moon one. And this one's popular with children because you just cut it in half. So pop that on there. Now you don't just have to do savoury quesadillas. It's actually quite a popular dessert. You can fill them with things like you know, your Nutella and things like that, and even like put a bit of cinnamon sugar on the outside, butter it, cinnamon sugar, and that's a lovely little kind of treat for after dinner if you've got any of these wraps left over. Again, we really want to kind of keep the wastage down. So anything that we've got left in our restaurant, when we have macaroni cheese, if it's on special, we'll actually use any leftover macaroni cheese and put it into pies. In fact, you guys do pies as well at McIntosh, so a macaroni cheese pie is a beautiful thing if it's really, really moist. So there we go, that's the half moon one. Literally, fold it over, pop that in the pan. And then it's a case of just being patient, or impatient as in my case. So we just need to check it very carefully. So it's on a kind of medium-high heat. Now, cooking isn't just about kind of master chef's type skills, yeah. There is fine dining, and we could go into all these little details. We're really here just to give you a few ideas and suggestions on something you can do with a really popular product. But when it comes to cooking, it's more about instinctive things. We've all got a sense of taste or smell. If it looks like it's burning, chances are it probably is. If it smells like it's burning, it definitely is. And if it sounds like it's burning, you should just get out, because that's a really bad sound to hear. So what I'm going to do now, because I can smell it, hopefully you guys can, I'm just going to flip it over. So yeah, you see in the pan just how quick that is? Just waft some of that lovely smell towards you there, hopefully get your stomach rumbling. And then we're going to make another one. So Lewis, if you'd like to do that, and I'm going to crack on with the salsa. So if you want to fill another one there, and we'll get that done. There we are with it. So salsa wise, there we go. We've got our tomato, red onion, spring onion, that's all mixed together. Now, what you can do is you can add a little bit of oil to this, and that'll make a really nice kind of summery salsa, which will go lovely on bruschetta, put a bit of basil through it. What we're actually going to do is add a little bit of ketchup to it. A lot of the tomatoes that we get in this country, they are grown overseas in hydroponics, in big greenhouses, so they don't really have a chance to ripen up. In the same way strawberries that are grown, in the greenhouses don't always have the same kind of sweetness. So ketchup is loaded with sugar. So we put a little bit of ketchup in, this will help bind it. Also going to add a little bit of salt. Now I use sea salt, there's less sodium in this, so it's got a little saltier flavour, but you don't need as much of it as you would with normal table salt. So in effect, it is kind of better for you. Obviously you've got to watch your salt intake though, same with sugar. Now if you don't want to use ketchup, like I say, just use a little bit of oil. So just enough salt. Now the salt will actually draw all the lovely flavours out of the tomatoes. It will also draw some of the moisture out of the actual onion as well. Now I'm just going to flip this one. There you go, I can see that cheese oozing now, and I'm just going to have a little look at this. It's funny, in my kitchen, if anyone's going to burn anything under the grill or on a griddle, it's normally me. So I'm going to pop that on there, and we'll shove that one in there, Lewis. There you go, that's good. So I'm going to get my spoon. So the salsa, quite simply, mix it all together. A little bit more ketchup there. And one of the things that's really important when you're doing stuff like this, particularly salads, a lot of people think things like salads and dressings, yeah, there's not really much cooking involved in those. But one of the sections you learn when you work in a professional kitchen is the larder section. It has more ingredients than any other section. And at the end of the day, they start you in that section, because if you can't look after a piece of lettuce, there's no chance of letting you loose on a lobster or a bit of beef. So, learn all our ingredients and learn how best to get the most flavour and look after them. So there we are. That's the ketchup, just enough to bind it, okay? And another thing that we teach our chefs, what's that, Lewis? Taste it, season and taste. Add a little bit of seasoning, a bit of a time, and then give it a little taste. If you put too much salt, you can't take it away, but you can always add a little bit more if you need it. And the reason that we taste it, 2 reasons. Chances are, if we don't like it, our customers aren't going to like it. But I always like to think, is this something I would feed my mum? Will she eat it, or will she just give me grief? If I think she'll eat it, then that's a good sign. I'm on to a winner. So I'm not going to double dip. I'll just get another little spoon. That's nice. It needs a bit more salt. And I'm going to split this salsa now, because we're going to do a natural salsa. There we go. And then I'm going to do a spicy one as well. So we had a few takers for the spicy salsa yesterday. Lovely. So let's pop some of that in there. And those red onions are lovely now with the salt on them. And get a little bit more pepper. I had a second taste. There we go. So there we go. We'll leave that as the normal one. A bit more pepper, a bit more pepper. And I'm going to use some Tabasco. You can use any pepper sauce, some Kona, Kahlua and things like that. You can actually put some fresh chili through it as well. A little tip with chilies, if you're getting fresh chili, before you chop it and put it through something, just chop the little end off, taste it. Yeah? That means you're not putting the whole amount in. If it's too hot a chili, you're only going to cut half of it. Let's have a little look at that. There we go. There we are. That's it, me and my iron fingers. So that's the Tabasco one. I'll give that a little stir. There you are. Go them in. Now you'll notice I have very patiently left these for a little while. I've not cut into them just yet. Now just like a pizza, if you cut into it straight away, the cheese will just skid off. So when it comes to a quesadilla, if it is cheese that you're using in it, be patient, let it rest a little bit, and get your big chopping knife or your pizza cutter, and then we can cut into it. So I'm going to pop this onto my board. There we go, just like that. Now, if you don't want to use macaroni cheese, you can use anything. If you've got any leftover chicken from your Sunday dinner, you can put that into it, yeah? Mix your own kind of fajitas together, your own kind of mix. It's really nice with little bits of smoked salmon in. You could put, you know, make a kind of fish one as well. So this is how we'd normally serve it. I'm going to cut these into smaller bits so that you can all have a little sample. But there we go. How quick and easy is that? So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have something super simple to do with any leftover mac and cheese, or just use it and make tons for the whole family, or if you've got a load of friends coming around for a party, a tasty little nibble that you can kind of share with everybody. So we'll put a few bits on there, and then we put a little bit of salsa on. So this is the one with the Tabasco. I'm just going to taste that now. Right, Lewis is my chief taster. You can taste the spicy one today, Lewis. Yep. Go for it. Let's turn that one over. Spicy, zingy, nice and fresh. Yep. That goes into the bin. There we go. So, this is the last few happening here now. Has anybody got any questions about the quesadilla? Everyone find it simple enough you can all do it at home? And who wants an actual taste of it? No one? Right, well that's our lunch then. We'll just put all this in the bin, shall we? Right, that's us. If anybody wants a little taste, please come to the front. Stay away from the griddle there. And
ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Hayley and Lewis in association with McIntosh Macaroni.
Would you like a bit of salsa?
Thank you, guys.